What's up, gentlemen?
Howdy, Troy. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I got you, buddy.
All right. We'll give it a few minutes here yet, and then we'll jump in.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Hey, are you guys on your phones?
Yes, sir.
All right. So if you want, you can go to settings. If you want to stream it to your page as well, there's a little thing that says stream this to your audience. If you guys want to, you can stream it right to your stuff too.
All right. I'll figure out how the heck to do that without losing you. Not seeing it on there, Rick. I don't know if you can find it.
I'm not talking about Troy.
Okay, so if you're on your phone, down on the bottom, are you? I think it should be. Yeah, I don't know where it's. Like,
Maybe in the middle.
mic, cam, chat, and then there's like 3 dots where it says more.
Yep.
If you click on that, there should be a little thing that says stream this to your audience.
Got it.
I'll just let you do it, Rick. That way we're not both trying to do it.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be on the Bite page.
Oh,
I'm not logged in. I don't.
let me try it on mine here. I'm not sure, Troy. It's asking me to sign up or log in.
Yeah.
Oh, no worries. I just figured if you wanted to do it, you guys could, but
Yeah.
no big deal.
We could have probably figured that out sooner.
Yeah,
We're good.
I completely forgot about it. It'll be, you can rebroadcast this off of YouTube or Facebook or whatever too, because it's on. There's, I don't know, it's on like 4 different platforms. So
Right.
deal.
I think mine logging in, so I don't know.
Sounds good. How are you guys? You guys already recovered from the show?
Been in the shop a lot, that's for sure. They wiped us out for what we had ready to go out in online orders, but we've got more there, so we're getting them wrapped up. But
Nice. For anybody that thought about going to that show and didn't, I guess it was a catch-22 there, right? You didn't miss the huge crowds. I think that was probably some of the busiest 3 days at a show I think I've ever seen. Now, granted, the venue was just a little bit smaller, but that didn't matter. I mean, the amount of people that were there was absolutely incredible. It was nonstop. I mean, Friday, I didn't know what to expect. What was funny is this show has been at that venue, I think, 2 or 3 other times, and it failed miserably. I mean, I don't think there was probably 1,500 people in all 3 days the last time I was at that expo center. And I was talking with Troy Tuma from Clam, and I bet him. I said, I don't know what to expect, man. I know every other time it was there, it failed. And, I think I bet him like Friday or something like that, like 300 to 400 people. And crepes, we had 300 to 400 people online before it even opened.
Right?
well, that was nuts. It was crazy. That everybody compares it to St. Paul, kind of sets the pace for that whole thing, in the whole show category. And it felt like one of the busiest days at St. Paul for like the first 4 hours, 5 hours. So,
yeah, it was. It was crazy. And it didn't stop. I mean, Friday was packed, Saturday was off the charts, and then even Sunday was pretty steady on Sunday.
Sunday was a great crowd. Yeah, nice and steady, and you could kind of talk to everybody. It felt like on Friday and Saturday you were actually missing a lot of people that they would have had to circle back to get to you. It almost felt like that. So,
yep.
Troy, have you heard much buzz about because boy, I'm excited about if they can get that moved. I heard some, rumors about moving it over to EAA, and I'm thinking that all these people, obviously there was a lot of talk online about the frustration the long lines, not only to get in, but at the vendors, including ourselves. We didn't expect that. So we should have probably been better staffed in our booth and maybe had somebody ringing up as we were doing them. But what have you heard as far as next year? Because I'd really like to give people a lot of hope to give it a chance again next year, if maybe it is going to get moved to EAA and a lot of these problems will be rectified. I know ours will next year with being better staffed in our booth for sure.
Yeah. So I did talk with Dan, and that's pretty much the consensus, is it will be moved to EA next year. The nice thing with that is, look at what they do there, right? They got the air show, they've got the boat show, they've had major events that are going to, that put in 1,000 times more people than what this ice show, could probably ever bring.
Right.
So they have the traffic thing figured out. They've got the parking, they've got the buildings, nobody has to be outside. All the ice houses, everything will be inside. The vendors, I'm sure they could break it up. And, really at that point, that thing can grow to, a full winter show. I mean, they could do snowmobiles and, whatever they wanted to do and kind of break it apart and, keep people there longer. And, I think it'll be good once it moves there. Now, that being said, talking with Dan, the prices are going to go up a little bit for the vendors, right? But
right.
I don't think that really makes a difference, because the amount of people that came through this show is proof in the pudding that this area is ready for an ice show. They did a heck of a job promoting. We tried to help as much as we can. We had them on last week before the show, and everybody did just a great job getting people into the door. And hats off to the promoters, because they killed it.
I agree 100%. Right.
Sure.
And,
no.
In the perfect storm too, right? And everybody says it. John, just mentioned it online here too, is that, the fact that there was no ice, deer hunting is pretty much done. What else is there to do that weekend in Wisconsin? There really isn't much.
No Packer game Sunday.
Still out in the boat. Yep. So it was good. I mean, everything about the show turned out awesome, and no complaints, and was just exceeded expectations to no end. A lot of people came out to the seminars. If anything, hopefully they'll have a better area there to allow for more people. It was crazy. The funniest thing about the whole thing is they put Coot out in the horse stable.
We had a chance to talk with him a little bit. Yeah, the people that were out there they were chilly out there, it seemed like.
The guys from Graf too, Ray's watching, and Yasik, and all those farm animals, they had the building all set for them. So it was perfect.
With a watering pond with fish in it, right?
Yep. Oh, yeah, when they say you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Well, they're stable. They're just fine.
Yeah. No, that show was a good time.
So Ray says unheard. So have you guys been out fishing yet?
We have. We made it up to the UP about a week and a half ago. We hit quite a few areas. I think we were probably the first ones. Actually, the place that we called actually said there's no ice, and they laughed at us. Well, we still went there, and so the next day there was ice, and we went out and fished. I mean, we didn't get on a lot of big fish, but we got on a lot of fish, and we had the lake to ourselves. So it was just good to get back out. We really didn't care what we were catching or where we were catching it. We just wanted to be on the ice and fishing. So it was beautiful up there. I mean, the body of water we were on, it was a flowage system. There was like no cabins on it anywhere. It had that Canadian feel. So it just felt good to be out. So yeah, no, we had a good time up there. Caught some big crappies too. And so it was good.
Nice. I spent all day today driving around, checking the ice from Winnebago all the way out past Watoma, and I could not believe how many lakes are wide open. There's not even a skim layer on some of these lakes. I don't know if the rain and the wind and everything else. A lot of the bays had anywhere from an inch to 2.5. The most I found was 3. In about 4 or 5 feet of water or so. So it's and we don't have any like serious ice making weather. I mean, tonight's going to be the coldest night now, I think, in like 5 or 6 days. They're talking 40s and, you know, even 30s, I think, for lows come Saturday. So it's not a good start to the year, that's for certain.
No, and I guess if there's any saving grace at all, Troy, it's probably better than, I'm a little bit worried. Like I said, we're driving up to these northern lakes. You got 3, 4, 5 inches. Great, you can walk on it now, but boy, that's just, we get dumped on with a foot of snow, and you know that could be detrimental up there. So in some ways, it's probably good that we don't have that couple inches down here, because with these temperatures hovering around where they are, we get a big moisture system that moves in. I mean, we could get pounded with that wet, heavy snow on top of that ice, and that would not be good, you know?
Yep. Yep. And I think that's, you know, really what happened. Cause like I said, a lot of these lakes had a good skim layer, and then we got all that rain on Saturday. And now it's completely gone. I mean, there wasn't, even at the boat landing, a guy could put his boat in on some of these lakes out here. It was crazy.
Wow.
So tonight, I guess we're going to try, you know, chat tip-up fishing. We did this last year, and it was very well received, and it had a lot of requests from people to talk about some tip-up fishing again. And I figured I'd bring you guys and see if you guys wanted to chat in. And you know, this is Rick and Terry Manlick from Bite Me Box Tip-Ups. These guys are the originators of the boxes. And boy, how long have we been fishing together? When did I meet you guys? It's going back a long time.
I feel like you're one of the first people we reached out to, and we met out on Lake Winnebago. And we didn't catch a lot of big fish that day, but we had a good time, and it's been a friendship ever since. And that's 10 years ago, I bet.
Yeah, all of that. I mean,
Yep.
all of that. We would run into each other all the time at the ice show, and you know, the style of fishing that I did, you know, more so back then was a lot more running and gunning, and tip-ups just didn't fit in my wheelhouse. But now, you know, kind of changing gears, doing some bigger groups and doing a lot more tip-up fishing, and not only just, you know, for fishing, but scouting. You know, it's really kind of turned into a tool more so than just, you know, extra lines. And not only that, but they're great for setting perimeters out on Poigan.
Yeah, been there, done that, right?
You're getting older now, so the tip-ups, you know, you can just kind of put them out and let them do their job for you, and you don't have to do all that running and gunning so much. We kind of told you that 10 years ago. You'll see when you get a little older.
Yeah.
I think I see a little gray in there, Troy. You're getting a little bit of gray there.
I'm trying to catch up to you guys.
Yeah, dog. You got a ways to go, buddy.
Oh, yeah, that's.
I think you still got some up on top yet. That's been history for me for a while.
I just went and got some of that stuff cut off today. I was getting a little shaggy there.
No point in clinging to scraps, right?
We just shake our head and it falls off. We don't get haircuts anymore.
Yeah. So I guess let's start. For you guys, how did the Bite Me Box Tip-Up come about? You know, why don't you guys tell the story on how that whole thing came about?
Go ahead, Rick. Take her away.
So, oh man, let's see. How old are we now? So I'm going to say when I was probably 10 years old, our dad worked at a place, and I won't put him on the spot with that, but he worked at a spot, and he came home with these tip-ups that he had built. And for years we fished with them, and they had that trip mechanism in there, which is what makes them so effective, you know. And we really didn't even understand why we were catching so many more fish than everybody else. Where everybody would just complain those all darn blue boxes, because they were blue back then, and they were just a perfect square box, but it had that trip mechanism. So after probably 11 years ago or whatever, Terry and I talked about, we're like, you know, we just been getting so many fish on them that this needs to be public knowledge. We're going to go to work and try and build something that's, you know, marketable and a little bit cleaned up a lot of the things that were not perfect with his style. And I think we've nailed it. We've got everything, you know, so the flag falls out of the way, his would fall in the middle of the hole. And so that's kind of how it all started. It was just a lot of years. And then there were some developments in there that led to the patent. Some of it was happy accidents that you don't know at the time when you're designing it, but all in all, it has been a fantastic product for us. Led to some awesome relationships with you and numerous people. We've met everybody in the industry through that product, and we couldn't be any happier with it. I mean, we've been redesigning all the way along, and now we've finally kind of hit that point where we can really produce them. We're rotomolding them now. They're no longer the glued together, or like we started off with the wood one, and then it went into an ABS solvent welded plastic one. You've had every model, and now we're up to the rotomolded, which you're running now. And that one to me is my favorite out of all of them now. So
I'm gonna turn on my remote camera here. We'll go over here. So I'm gonna tell you, these guys know it. I'm not the I don't baby my stuff. I use it, and stuff gets beat up and scratched, and they get run through the ringer for sure. But for people that have never seen one, and talk me through here, guys. Make sure I can see, or you guys can see the videos that come through. Okay.
It's a little tough to see, but yeah. So on that right side where that flag is up like that, yeah. So that's the trip mechanism on there. It just rests basically on that reel, and we have that straight line reel in there, so there's no resistance whatsoever. When that fish pulls on there, it adjusts that tension by not only sliding the counter forth, but also swiveling that reel farther forward, farther back. Probably going to be a little hard to tell by looking in there, but we do have some very good showing a lot of that stuff on our website. Go to boxtipup.com. You can get some better on there. But you can really set it to the point where like, you can catch that stuff.
Yeah, the nice thing about these things is everybody always talks about. And granted, that's one part. You've got a can here. You can put some charcoal in on really cold days, really windy days. You can put some charcoal in there, let this thing burn. We'll get as much as 6 to 8 hours, depending on how it's a big factor. And you don't have to worry about stuff freezing up. That's just one aspect of it. But what makes these tip-ups probably the most sensitive ones on the market is the mechanism. You've got a fly reel here, and as anal is what we are. Most of the time when you get them, they're set pretty good. And I'm just going to use this here to kind of show you. You've got a little shaft in there, and the reel slides over the shaft. When you get one of these, and I'm just going to kind of give a little bit of it, if that reel isn't spinning as smoothly as what you'd like, go ahead and just take some emery cloth and just do something to try to get rid of the burrs, or smooth it out in there, add some good grease. And some other things too sometimes is that metal spool, if there's a little bit of a bend or something happens to it on the edges, around the edges here, I've had to take and kind of file down a little bit around the edge of the spring. And literally, you should be able to blow on that line, and it will trip. It is that sensitive. And obviously, once it gets going, then you don't have to really worry about it. But that's more probably the benefit of this tip-up than anything. It's just how that mechanism works. The fact that everything is contained, you don't have to worry about wind trips. Everything is sealed. And we've got the vulture systems, and I know this was a big question for you guys at the show, and I get asked quite a bit on how we set up the vulture system on these tip-ups. I'm going to put the magnet on. I don't know if you guys can see the magnet, but the magnet, I've got just a tiny little hole drilled through the top of the box, that metal clip, and we'll take this guy off. Metal clip, I've got just top riveted on, and we'll set that guy in there. We'll reset the tip up here. And then I just got some 120-pound braid for a little magnet, and now it is set. If anybody's interested in the vulture, we can talk about that a little bit further too. But these things are absolutely remarkable. We can use these things a mile away on the other side of the lake, and not have to worry about watching our flags and these things go off. We get a transmitter gets set to the receiver here, and this is kind of a nice feature too. Is you've got a flashlight mode that allows you to kind of check the tip ups and use it for if you're fighting a big fish or something like that. But what happens is once that blade trips, you're going to see that magnet get pulled off, and that's what sends the alarm to the remote. So a great product. We've been using many different types of like the blue tips, and going back in the day, there was another company that had transmitters or remotes for tip ups. So, it's just nice, especially when we're setting 20 of these things up out on the lake, to have something else other than just our eyeballs watching it. But yeah, that's it. That's it. That's the box. These are the new ones that are roller molded, and they do a lot better job as far as I think staying intact. You don't have to worry about the wood freezing to the ice anymore. They really did a heck of a job with the roller mold.
Yeah, and one other thing I'll toss in there, Troy, too. I know you mentioned the charcoal, and I think you did touch base that, because we use that ball on there and not a flag, you're able to set that as sensitive as you did. And I think you can attest to this. It can be blowing 30 miles an hour. You're fishing that sensitive, and you're not getting any wind trips at all, because, that everything's self-contained and the wind drives through those holes in the ball and around, rather than, shaking the flag around or whatever the case is and, causing those trips. And even the charcoal, you set that up with the, the vulture system. You're not getting wind trips. You got the vulture system on there, and then you charcoal it up. I mean, just a perfect scenario. And a lot of people think that the charcoal, when we say that, they're always worried about it. They think, oh, is there something better? Should I try this? Should I try that? When we talk about charcoal, we're not talking about bringing a grill and lighter fluid out there. You can light, basically, you just take and put 4 cold briquettes in the bottom of there, take a auto light torch, you're laying 2 briquettes in a metal skimmer with that auto light torch, you blast on them for about a minute and set them on top of those other ones. And our newer boxes have a high-low fire damper that also acts as a lid stop. But once you light those 2 coals, you're done for 6-8 hours. So way less hassle than dealing with chiseling out or a candle blowing out or any of those things that we've found, and I think you probably have too, that's just the best method. Key is got to keep your charcoal dry, and also use what we found is the Kingsford professional grade is the best. A couple of years ago, Kingsford, they made a change to the recipe, and we were having some issues with them chain lighting off of each other. So professional grade isn't that much more expensive, and a whole bag of it cost you probably $8-10. And, it just seems to be the ticket out there, again, versus anything else. And again, even down to probably about 20 degrees, if that sun is shining with that black box, most guys are saying I hardly ever have to put heat in it anyway, because it's like being in a black car inside, right? Keeps it nice and warm.
Yep, absolutely. Going back and, talking about charcoal and, candles and all these other different things, guys, we have tried everything there is to try when it comes time to heat sources. Between Rick and Terry and myself, back in, even as much as last year, trying some, different new like sternos and stuff like that. And the best thing just goes back to charcoal, honestly. We've got, Rubbermaid totes that are sealed. We keep everything in there so everything stays dry. I've got a metal skimmer, a little, propane torch with a trigger. And so, we get out for the morning. What I do, I'll set up a bunch of my TipUps, take the cans, put all the dry briquettes in the bottom, light, however many TipUps I have. I usually try and light at least one, a lot of times two, and then I'll drop them on top and close the lids and go set them. So it's really not that hard.
No.
For what you have to do, it's nothing compared to what you're going to get out of the boxes.
Do not use match light and do not use lighter fluid. The idea is a slow burn.
Yeah, and it's important to remember that hot one goes on top. You don't need them all burning. It only takes one to be burning in there good, and that'll take care of that tip up. So probably one of the biggest mistakes we have with the heating end of things. Guys will come back and they're like, yeah, it works good, but I'm not getting that 6 to 8 hours like you said. And the first thing we ask, where are you putting the hot one? Well, you put it on the bottom. That's the way you build a fire. Wrong. Put it on top. You only need the one. And then the light bulb goes on and they come back and they're like, yep, now I'm getting it. I mean, we've gotten more than that. We've gotten, on the right conditions, we've gotten 10 hours out of it. So it should be burning very slow. And you keep that can on an angle so the oxygen is getting around to the next one and the ashes just fall to the side like that. And it works really good once you got it figured out. It's really a piece of cake if you got it.
The only drawback to using charcoal is every time you open that damn tip up, you're hungry.
I think you were one of the first ones to say that, Troy, and you're 100% correct.
You knew exactly.
Good news is you supply a good lunch at every one of your guide trips. And so, yeah, just tell you to fire up the grill and get going.
Yeah.
Summer, I want to put the tip-ups out,
That, and it's kind of like when you pull the tip-ups out, after they've been sitting all summer and we're getting them ready, and you open the boxes and you're going through line. It's kind of like opening up a really well-seasoned grill because you've got that nice, rich charcoal flavor. That's kind of seasoned on the inside, and just that little bit of extra flavor. I think it let the fish like it too.
Oh, absolutely. Why not?
Hungry. Why wouldn't it make a fish hungry?
Well, let's talk about setups. So a lot of the fishing we're doing around here is primary perch, walleye, crappie with the boxes. And there are some guys that use them for pike fishing, but I don't have any of them set up for pike fishing. If I'm in pike fishing, I've got my claws from Firehouse that are all set up. And, you really don't need that sensitivity like you would for the perch, crappies, and the walleyes. Typically if a pike comes in, they're hitting it so flipping hard that you don't have to worry about it. And, it's nice about these claws. I'll grab one of these guys. If you are going to go out and tip up fish and, that's all you're going to do and go back to the backwaters, I guess the only drawback to the bite me's is they're a little bit big. They're cumbersome. We had a guy ask if they break down for transportation, and they do not. They are a square box that is roto-molded. But what we found is, getting some of these sleds that are deeper, and you can put 3 or 4 of them in there and transport them out in the sled. The nice thing about these claws is you can pack, I think we can get 7 or 8 of them in a 5-gallon bucket because everything is self-contained. They open up. You've got the flag. Obviously, the flag extends, and you've got the standard beaver dam kind of style spool that you use for pike fishing. So again, these things are great all around tip ups. Very economical. Very easy to store. I see, and I'm gonna throw the name out there because I'm pretty disgusted. The company Vexen came out and they 100% knocked off Marty's design here and took it to China, brought it back, and came out with this. Oh, we've got a new design. We got this great tip up, and all they did is knock Marty off. So I know it's been really good to see Marty selling a bunch of these things. And the Vexen guys kind of suffering, and they caught a lot of heat from a lot of people These things are made in the U.S. You know, the guy's a fireman up in Cumberland or Rice Lake area. Super nice guy, and for somebody to come and steal his design and sell it, you know, like it's his own is you know, just, it's pathetic. And I know there's been a lot of guys that have tried, you know, copying your stuff too. They have patents on it. I know you guys got the patents on yours, but you know, at the end of the day, you know, it costs you tens and tens of $1,000s to fight a patent infringement, and is it really worth it? I guess if you want to make a point, sure, you could, you know, go after them, but at the end of the day, guys, you know, these companies they're ruthless. They don't care, and it's sad to see.
Yep, it really is, Troy. I agree 100%.
Yeah, we talked with Marty when he first started up years ago, and we know what on the line and his blood, sweat, and tears that went into that product, and we've seen it numerous times. I'm sure you've seen it plenty. We've had people come after ours, you know, and it's you know, come up with your own idea. You know, you don't need to go stealing somebody's, and you're not going to get respect from anybody in the industry. So it's going to be an uphill battle trying to sell it.
Yep. So one of the things that I just want to show people real quick, how well these tip-ups were made for kind of solving problems, right? The biggest problem with this style tip-up is transporting. They've got a magnet that will hold your hook, and you drop your flag back down inside, close everything up, and that thing, now you could, you know, use it for a drum hand, or, you know, beat something with it if you really needed to. But you know, it's simple. It's really easy. I think they're about $40, and they'll do, you know, anything you need them to do, and take up a lot less space and a lot less cumbersome than, you know, like a beaver dam. So plenty of options. And then, you know, the guys that use the tip downs too, that's another thing that's, you know, you see a lot of guys using for perch and crappies. But the problem with that is you constantly having to go clean out holes. And I fish with a lot of guys with the bite me's and side by side with their tip downs. And I would say I kick their tail 12 out of 10 times. They for some reason, I don't know if it's the light over the hole or covering up the hole, but it seems to me that those boxes end up doing a little bit better than even what the tip downs do. What's your guys' thought on that?
I think you're right, Troy. I think one of the nice point, I guess, where we maybe have a little bit of a leg up on that is if you've got a real, and I was talking about this to a lot of people at the show, and it really sets in with them, you know, most of the time, if you have to run out to your tip up, that's not a good thing. If you have I tell people, you have a school of crappies out there, and let's say it's a real negative bite and they're finicky, when that flag goes up, sometimes we're just going to sit there for about a minute or so, you know, especially if we're jigging in the schools down there, catch some, just let that flag up and then walk out real slow and open that box real quiet. Now, instead of just pulling up that one and letting the school scatter, you're going to get 4 or 5 out of that school, you know. So that's where it can definitely, you know, be an advantage. Not only that, you know, especially out on Poigan, right? You start running to tip ups, you're going to get company real quick.
Don't even have to do that. You get company.
No, you know, one of the guys in the seminar, he's like, well, I just carry my binoculars and look for you guys.
Right.
I just look for your box. He says, I just look for your boxes.
Yeah. We need to make some white ones, right?
White.
Yeah. There you go. Incognito box. That's what we'll call it.
The joke always was, you know, set of binoculars. That's your Winnebago fish finder right there.
Yeah, for sure.
Question all the time about why do you think it is, and a lot of other people, and for years we didn't know, but I really think there's a number of things that'll stop a fish from biting, and if you trigger any one of those through the process, and it started just like you said before with, if that hole isn't blacked out, that could have been the thing right there that stopped that fish from biting. So right there, you just check that step off. If you can get past that step, then the next step is he's going to look at that bait, and if it looks natural and it's swimming good, which comes in with, I'm sure you're going to talk about the number 20 treble hook that we beat up that we use on there. So that's the second thing that's got to pass. And then he's got to grab it and not feel the hook. So now you make it past that. Well, now you got to get to the point where that flag has got to trip really, really easy. If he doesn't feel that, he's more likely to keep it. swallow it, and he's going to be there when you get there. And the last thing is that reel turning smooth when he leaves, if he doesn't feel anything. Those are all points that he's got an opportunity to spit that bait out. And you may not even know it on those days when everybody says they're not biting. Those fish are probably biting, or they thought about biting it, and either the hook scared them off, or they felt the hook, or they felt the resistance on that flag before they could even trip it. They just don't get away with that with our tip-ups. At a bare minimum, they're going to trip it. They're not going to be able to steal that bait without tripping that flag, so you at least know to go back out there and bait it up, which is another reason why you're going to put so many more fish on the ice. You are fishing efficiently all the time. Like, they're never going to – you're just not going to have any issues with that, with the fish stealing your bait or anything.
Yep. So let's talk about setups. There's 1,000 ways to skin a cat, right? But our experience, you guys, myself, we've spent years perfecting, the methods and reasonings on why we do what we do. And, we'll just start with the spool. I run for my main line. You can get, a lot of different tip-up line. But the problem with Dacron is it's stretchy, okay? So I've been running, like a heavier braid, an 80-pound, 50, 80-pound braid. And the Seaguar Tactics is what I pretty much spooled everything up on it right now. Very inexpensive, good line. But the reason that I went to a no braid is because here's what happens is, let's say probably more so when you're pike fishing, because walleyes and perch, they typically don't hit something, super hard and take off running 100 miles an hour. They do occasionally. And when that happens is if you've got a braided Dacron that you can stretch like a bungee cord, and that fish hits, takes off running, you go there, you feel it. Okay. Yep. And then you try and go and set the hook. And if that thing's got, 50, 70, feet of line out, there's so much stretch in that line that you don't get a good penetration hook set. With braid, there's zero stretch. So you can really feel everything a lot better. And when you go and set that hook, you're not having to crank it like you're, setting a hook on a marlin. It's literally just a nice steady pull. And what we're using is I run the braid to a barrel swivel. And then I typically have about a good 3-foot fluorocarbon leader. If we're walleye fishing, crappie fishing, typically a 6-pound. If we're fishing some bigger fish, I'll jump up to an 8-pound. And if I know I'm just strictly fishing perch, I'll drop down to even like a 3 or 4-pound, just to try and keep the presentation as natural as possible. And then, the secret behind the whole thing, and it's going to be hard to see this, but that guy right there, that is a number 20 Mustad treble hook. And everybody thinks, oh, that's too small, and you're not going to catch anything with that. Well, guys, I've got videos of both of you guys that I show at the seminars. My biggest walleye through the ice, came on a number 20 hook. We've caught 40-inch plus pike on number 20 hooks. It really is all in how you fight a fish. The one thing with the style of fishing that we do is you have to have some patience. Don't go set the hook and just start hauling them in like you would out in North Dakota catching pike. I mean, you have to fight the fish, and that's fun, man. I don't know why people think that it's a race to get these fish to the top of the ice. I love fighting a fish hand over hand, and as long as you have patience and you can just tire these fish out, have somebody there to help you if you can, to keep the line, off to the side, or like we tell everybody, if the wind's blowing this way, take your line as you're pulling it up, throw it with the wind, let that wind kind of take it. Don't just make a pile, just sit there and hand over hand, and you got a big rat's nest underneath you. And then when that fish wants to run, it takes that whole rat's nest with you, and get caught on something, and then you end up losing the fish. Line breaks or the hook comes out. So it's really important to kind of how you fight the fish. But what happens with these number 20s, whether it be perch, crappie, bluegills, walleyes, pike, anything, when they eat that is so small, there's little to no resistance. The fish comes in, they open their mouth, they suck the water in, and that's what, you know, brings the bait into their mouth. Well, with how little that is and whatever style bait you have on, most of the time that bait is already back in their gullet. They don't have that chance to feel the line. They can't feel the hook. It's already gone. And by the time it gets back there and they try and spit it out, it's too late. These little hooks are so sharp and that wire is so thin that it just catches in the back of their throat most of the time. Now, I'm not saying it all the time, and you are going to get sometimes where if they're sucking on the head of a minnow or whatnot, and you go and set the hook, you'll catch them on the lip. But a lot of times that hook is gone. Now, what is, you know, people say, well, you don't want that. You don't want them swallowing the bait. Again, that wire is so thin that when it's back there in that throat, all you have to do is pull the line. It'll tear out. You don't hurt the fish. It's very, very minuscule as far as the damage that you're going to do. And granted, sometimes the perch, you know, if it gets caught in their gills or whatnot, you know, I'm here to eat fish anyway. So at that point, I don't really care if I'm killing a fish. And, you know, if you get a small one, I think that's, you know, more what happens is those small ones, you know, get hooked up and get caught more so than the bigger ones. So, you know, try that out, number 20 hooks. And when we go pike fishing, everybody thinks you need these big hooks for pike too. And a lot of the times, you know, we're using a 30-pound fluorocarbon leader, and I will go down to like a number 12, you know, maybe a number 10 size treble hook, something small. And again, same principles that those fish, you know, they come in, they swallow that bait, and your hookup percentage is going to be drastically increased. And as far as, you know, leader material goes, you know, 30 pounds or, you know, 60 pound, if you're really going to go after some big gators, I'll jump up a little bit. But, you know, that's really all you need. And, you know, an 80-pound main line, 30-pound leader, it's going to be pretty hard for, you know, most of the fish we have around here to break through a 30-pound leader. And then for walleyes, you know, like I say, we're using 6, you know, 8-pound test leaders. And for, you know, the panfish, crappies, you know, and perch, we'll go down to like 3 or 4 pounds. So that's me. What do you guys do? What's your preference?
Well, yeah, I think you're right, Troy. And just because we're not real big into the pike fishing, we don't typically target them a lot, unless, you know, we're up in, you know, up in Lake of the Woods or whatever, specifically chasing them. So most of the time we're running our rigs with that leader line. I like to run, like you said, 4-pound fluorocarbon, same deal, number 20 hook. That way, if we set that up, I always start out on any lake with a smaller minnow, you know, just start out with the small ones. If the small fish are bothering you, just start upsizing in them. But that way, any lake you're in, especially if you're in a multi-species lake with perch and crappie and walleye, you know, everybody always says big bait, big fish. I mean, how many times have you caught, you know, high 20s, 30-inch walleye on a little crappie minnow? It's hard for them to swim by it, especially with that number 20 hook, if it's, you know, just a natural presentation. So I always tell people, you know, set that up. You're going to get more flags. Again, you got to slow down and fight the fish, just like you mentioned. Every fish out there is going to get tired sooner or later. But then we always play around with things too. And I think, you know, you're probably one of the guys that, you know, when we started fishing with you, even got us into some of this, where you're pinching either half the tail off or all the tail off. Slide the split shot up or slide it down. You know, if the guys that are jigging are saying that, you know, oh, they're really chasing, they want it moving fast, then we're going to leave the tail on that minnow, slide that split shot up so you get more of that aggression bite, you know. And if they say it's a real negative bite, maybe we're pinching half or all the tail off, so just that minnow is just quivering, you know. But you know, and if for the guys that do maybe get out and pike more, that's one of the features we do offer on ours too. Is a lot of guys will purchase those extra reel assemblies, and then you can just keep a plastic container, and you can keep one reel rigged up with the, you know, your steel leader, maybe one with 8, and then maybe one with 2-pound test, and then you just get in there with that spinnable wing nut, and you can throw on those different leader line sizes. So, but most of the time, that's what we're doing. We're running the light line because we love chasing crappies, perch, and walleye. That's kind of our forte, you know.
Yep. So you hit on a good point, and let's kind of talk about the details. Everybody just, I go out fishing with all these guys all the time, and I'm sure you see it too, but they take their line, they may have a sinker or something above their hook, and they just go set every single one of their tip ups the same. They bring it up 2 inches up off the bottom, and that's it. They just leave it. When we go out, everything we do is there's a method to it, and there's a reason for that. Is if we're trying to figure out how the fish are biting, we'll set up, let's say we set up a dozen tip ups in a day, and we're going to take some, we're going to put some right on the bottom. I mean, where that minnow is literally kind of sitting sideways, and as it kind of quivers a little bit, it might stir up a little bit of mud and attract some fish. And when we do that, we're going to drop that sinker, just a couple inches above that hook, so that bait can't shoot off. We want that thing sitting right down in the mud. And then on the contrary to that, we're going to take some, we're going to move, maybe up 10, 12 inches, and we're going to take that sinker and we're going to move it, 15, 16 inches up off that hook, so that bait can cover a whole big area all the way around you as it's swimming around. And if what happens is you're going to start seeing, okay, I've got one box or I got one tip up. Man, every single time a tip up goes off, it's that particular one. So what do? You figure out, okay, hooks, 6 inches from the sinker, it's 8 inches up off the bottom. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out and go and switch all your other bait, boxes around. But you got to think, and you got to try different things and make mental notes. I know you guys do it. We'll write it in the snow or whatever. Just do something that you can kind of keep track of what's going on. And now with the vultures, this is what I really love about the vulture system. Is every morning when I get up, I set everything up, all the numbers on the tip ups, and I will put a number next to it, 2, 10, 12, whatever, and that is how many inches up off. So the nice thing about it is it logs every time a flag goes up, right? So then all I got to do is look at my phone, and I can see, okay, number, the 4 inch. Okay, they're 4 inches up off the bottom. I'm going to go and start moving stuff around. So we're not just setting them up and forgetting about them. We're really trying to figure out, put a dry erase board on the Bite Me. That's a great idea. Or, even, with the metal lids now, one of those white markers or something like that you can scratch off, or chalk. Chalk would even be great on the aluminum lids. Is a great idea. Pay attention to the details, and you guys are going to put more fish on the ice. That's as easy as I can explain it, is just pay attention to the details.
And be ready to change throughout the day. I mean, in the morning, those fish might be aggressive. They're willing to come up a foot off the bottom and grab it. And you're like, okay, they're a foot off the bottom. And as that feed slows down, so does their aggression. You got to slide that split shot back down. Don't be afraid to keep changing them up all day. You just cannot get stuck in a rut with them. And that's one of the reasons, like when people see us, we're shooting the videos, or when you're out there, we're putting all these fish on the ice and they're wondering why. It's like, well, when you have a dozen tip ups out there and you keep working them like that, you're bound to fall into what they want at some point.
Yep.
You're just going to lock them up. So,
yeah, I think we've all been conditioned over the years, Troy, from, our fathers and our grandfathers. The old school was, put your tip ups out and just sit there and let them. And if they're not going up, they're not biting. Boy, times have changed. And like you said, people are like, oh, tip up fishing is boring. You just hand reel them in. There's so much more to tip up fishing of what you put into it. Like you said, you have to use it as a tool to learn and figure out where they are. And again, it's the difference between 5 fish at the end of the day and 25 fish at the end of the day. Use them for the different breaks, the different depths that you're in. Use them for, put a rosy red on one, a shiner on another, a fathead on another. I mean, start thinking outside the box about what's going to help you locate those fish quicker,
Yep. Yeah. That's a bit, try different things. And the guys, you guys have been with it. I'll never forget the day, and maybe you guys remember this too, where Eli was, boy, he was just a little shit back then. When we
remember it
over on that one bay, and we were crappie fishing, and we had how many guys in that bay, and we were the only ones catching fish. I mean,
Yep.
honestly, Eli would be running all day long chasing flags, and we were pissing guys off. And
Yeah.
that happens all the time. I mean, we're out tip-up fishing or, just regular fishing. Obviously, if we find him jigging too, we've got different techniques and different things that we do that, we can catch things different or catch more than, people around us. But a lot of times it's when we're tip-up fishing that we're, making people upset because we're chasing flags, we're catching fish, and other people are not. And the other rule of thumb too is don't bring bananas out on the ice.
I think a buddy of ours did that once when he came out with you, didn't he? I won't mention any names.
that.
Shane Dieter. Shane Dieter.
That was funny. I mean, he got right in the middle of all of us, and we were catching everywhere around him. And there he is at lunch eating banana.
Right. He didn't catch many fish that day either, did he?
Nope.
I think
he went home pretty much.
In wooden boxes.
I think he was using our stuff. We were helping him. We felt bad for him.
Yeah, that's his luck. Though he finally killed a 150-inch deer this year, so good for Shane. Broke his streak.
Nice. Let's see. Just out of curiosity, did the Bite Me box get its start out at a little business on County Trunk H towards Orahula outside of Fremont? No, was that the Finicki Foolers?
Finicki Fish Factory.
Finicki Fish Factory, that's what it was. Yep, the guy, It was, I believe, up by New London or somewhere out that way, where that guy, he had lights, he had heaters. I mean, that was
oil lamp
ahead of its time too.
And that really like basically an underwater tip up in a box with the heat system and the jigging system in it. But it worked off the same principle with the spool that turns, around the 90-degree bend, pulling it, and you still were vulnerable to wind trips, which is, ours looks similar to it in shape, but there's a lot different stuff going on inside of it. But
still had the spring flag, which we've eliminated, right?
So basically, all they did, ow, darn it, that stupid hook caught my finger.
Good thing you're not live.
So all they did with that Finicki fish fooler is they took this mechanism right here and put it in a box, kept this outside the top of the box, and had a flag come down on top. So again, wind trips and everything else could happen, whereas the containment of the Bite Me's is everything's inside. Nothing can affect it. I mean, I've literally had boxes completely snowed in where you can't find them. And as long as the flag isn't packed tight, the flag's still going to go up. And that's the nice thing about that counterbalance that's in there is that you can adjust that pretty easily.
Troy, you brought up the one how is the size of it. It's interesting, when people say that, and my response to it is, do you think that somebody like you who does it for a living every day would haul out 12 or 15 of those and charcoal them up every day if it wasn't worth dealing with the size? Because it's going to be more of a pain for somebody like you than anybody else, for sure. And, what would your response be to somebody that's saying, I don't know, is it worth hauling them out there because they're big and bulky? That's the biggest hurdle we have to cross with it. And we're fine with it because the guys that have them are going to probably answer what you're about to say because you're a guide and you deal with it for a reason.
Yep. There are days where if we're, staying mobile and we can't drive our trucks out and I really have to pack light, there are days that all we're going to do is go out and jig. But what happens is if we get onto a school of fish while we're out there jigging and I know they're around, I will go back and get them from the trailer. Do I set them up every single day? I won't say that. But when we find big schools of fish, or if we're in areas where, like I said, I use them a lot of times as perimeters for, what we do as guiding. I hate to say it, but we get bombarded and everybody knows it, especially out on Poigan. But, we'll go out and we'll set a big perimeter of tip-ups and use it to try and keep people from coming in. But what it also does is I can watch. I mean, if the tip-ups on this side keep going off, I know enough to move over that way. There's a reason why those fish aren't coming over to this side, or, they're staying over there. And, granted, we have the electronics to kind of see where everything is at. But still, when it's time to just sit down and be quiet and not move around, it's nice just to have boxes kind of placed all over the place and just let those fish swim. Sit down, don't run, don't make noise, and just wait those fish out, especially on those days where they're getting pressured by the thousands of people out on Poigan. Winnebago doesn't seem to be as bad, but with the crappy ice we've had here the last couple of years, we haven't been fishing Winnebago much. We've been forced to kind of go out on Poigan. So
we did a lot this year on Winnebago, Troy. And the one thing I'd like to mention to all your viewers too, which I'm sure you probably already know this, but the last few years, that perch population on Winnebago has been, I mean, you can really see it coming back. And we found out, again, as we get older, we can't do the running and gunning, which is an extremely effective way on Winnebago. Run, gun, and you're always looking for the mother load, Well, there's been so many days I've done that and just exhausted at the end of the day and didn't find anything. Well, the last couple of years here, specifically last year, we get out, 5-7 miles, get right out in the mud, spread them tip-ups wide, sit down, relax, and wait them out. And I found a lot of times, there's days we'll put 8, 10, sometimes 20 fish on the ice. And a lot of the bigger ones are out in that mud too. So, that's something to think about in the upcoming years out there too. If you don't want to do the running and gun style, if you have the right setup, with the sensitivity, the small hook, just get that fathead off the bottom and wait them out. You'll just pick them off in 1s and 2s as they come by.
Yep. As long as you can find an area that's holding some fish, these things are great mouse traps. I mean, it's really, at the end of the day, this is one of the best mouse traps that you can put on the ice, period. And there are going to be the days where I don't care what you do, you're just not going to catch fish. I don't care if you're jigging, tip-up fishing, they're just not going to eat. And if you're a fisherman, you understand that, that. But on the days where it's slow, a box like this is a guide's best friend. There have been plenty of days where we have been on fish. I mean, we're marking them, we're seeing them, they won't eat, but we've got boxes spread way off to the side, and for whatever reason, the fish are just super noise sensitive, and that's all we catch fish on. And I mean, it's happened so many times. I mean, time and time again, that these things just come and, they're the saving grace, whether it be perch fishing or walleye fishing.
Yeah, I always
couple of questions these guys have. Hard water adrenaline. How long does it take to set up 10 tip-ups, like heating the coal and such? So if I go out in the morning and typically I have somebody that's with me. If we're setting that many, I've got a bigger group of guys. We'll go and we'll just drill a big perimeter of holes. And one guy's typically drilling the holes, and I get all my charcoal, open up all my boxes in a row, set them all to the side, and flip up all the lids, put 3-4 briquettes in each can, and go get my big metal ladle, take my torch. It probably takes 5-7 minutes to get all the charcoal heated up, drop each one in the boxes, close all the lids, grab a sled. My sled holds 4 boxes at a time plus my minnow bucket, and I just start walking around, get the 4 set, come back, grab 4 more, go get it set. So I'd have to say I can do a dozen tip-ups in probably about a half hour. And that's, starting them from scratch, checking depths on everything, and, getting everything going. But that's a dozen tip-ups. If you're just doing, 2 for yourself and then holding on to a jig rod, I can go set 2 tip-ups in, just a matter of a couple minutes. The hardest thing, honestly, is probably, getting the coal started. After that, setting these things is pretty easy.
A lot less time than chiseling them out all day long, for sure.
Yes. So what is the best way to find the bottom with the boxes over the hole? Old school weight locator? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just a depth bomb. We'll get hook the depth bomb onto the hook, send it down, and come up, however far you want to bring it up. And then what we do, here's kind of a little tip too for guys is how many people use, little bobbers or little pieces of foam or buttons or anything like that for line markers. What we use is a small sinker. And the reason being, let me try and get to it here. This must have been a crappie. Must have been a crappie reel from late ice last year because my sinker is way down there. Holy cow.
Well, we know you weren't on Pike again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's way down there. It's like we must have been in that on one of our deep crappie lakes. So anyway, I won't bring it all out. What we'll do is we'll get a split shot and put a split shot on your line and use that. Once you get your depth, put that split shot so it's right at the water line. And then that way you've got a line marker. But here's why I use a split shot versus a float or a button or anything like that is resistance, right? When a fish comes up, if they're Finicki, whether it be perch, crappies, walleyes, if they hit something and they feel that line or there's any bit of little resistance, if you've got a little bobber there or whatnot, guys, it doesn't take much at all. If there's any bit of resistance, a lot of times they're going to spit it out. But now let's say they hit that and there's a split shot down there. Well, the weight of the line and that split shot is going to naturally kind of make that thing sink really slow. And then that way there, you're feeding. You're almost like giving line to that fish. So that way when you go and check, grab the line, push your spool back, pull out a little bit of extra line, and you start to feel that resistance. As soon as you feel it, go ahead and then you can set the hook. But that extra weight on the line just helps feed it to them versus pulling it away from them.
Yep, same thing we do. We use split shots as well for exact same reason.
That's very, very important. Bobbers are, and then the other part about a split shot versus a bobber to point out is it's going to pull, if you're fishing, like when we go to the Mississippi quite a bit, and that's real shallow conditions. You've been out there with us and you're fishing in those heavy weeds. When those fish go to make a run, if they're feeling that bobber pulling through those weeds, if you haven't hooked them at that point and you haven't made it over there yet, they're spitting it out. That's a lot of times we'll even pull that split shot off down there because we're only fishing in 2 or 3 feet of water. That really doesn't need to be held down. We'll pull it right off of there. So that split shot isn't down there pulling through the weeds. The only one that's going to pull through the weeds is going to be that line marker one. We'll just let the fathead run free down there because we don't want that split shot there. Those fish can be that picky sometimes.
Yep, absolutely. We do that a lot of times, on shallow stuff out on the Winnebago system too. Is that number 20 4-pound fluorocarbon, and just let that minnow go down there and swim around. The nice thing too is fluorocarbon is a sinking line. It's not monofilament floats, and a lot of times there's just enough flotation there on your line that what happens is that minnow will get twisted up on that line too. So you want something that has a little bit of weight to it. That's where the fluorocarbon comes in handy. And, I was even gone as much as, lead core, taking out some lead core line and just wrapping it around the hook. Just a few turns to give it just enough weight to kind of keep it down there a lot, but you don't have a sinker to get caught on anything. And it's a lot more natural presentation with that light line than actually using sinkers. Because, even this one here, I haven't gone through and done anything, but what happens a lot of times when you're fishing sinkers is if you've got a minnow on there, right, they're going to go up and they're going to swim around and then they'll get wrapped around that split shot. And then you end up getting a knot around your split shot. And that's just, when you got lively minnows like that, that's going to happen. So what I've done is just right around the base of the hook, take some of that lead core line, strip that the actual lead that's in the line, and just wrap it around your hook a little bit and actually come up in the line. That way there you don't have any split shot to worry about. That minnow can go into whatever it wants, and you don't have to worry about getting tangled.
Nice. Good idea. We might have to try that.
See, we're giving away all the secrets today.
Yeah, don't give them all away, Troy. You'll lose your job as a guide.
I'm hoping somebody can take my spot for me and I can sit back and watch.
Well, you know, them boys are getting older now here, so.
I think
Yeah, pretty soon Eli will have his driver's license here next year. So
that's crazy.
Then I'll be able to sit back and I'll let him drive me out and he can do all the work and I'll just hang out with the boys.
Sounds like a plan, man. Sounds like a plan.
I think I remember Eli telling us years ago. We asked him what he was going to do. He said, "I'm going to be a guide. I'm going to find a wife that lets me." How did he say that? That lets me go out and fish every day, or something along the lines of that.
And Eli's he's turned out to be my gamer. He's my computer geek. But Xander now, my little 7-year-old, that guy's all about killing and fishing, and
I've noticed that.
That is
That's
awesome. He is
good.
all about it, man.
That is awesome.
I'm gonna have a memory for a long time of him. That last weekend of gun season. I know I told the story on here, but we got to the hunting land and he was just a little tired yet. And with the couple of days we hunted together, I was showing him what scrapes were and what rubs were. And we had a trail that goes over to our gun stand that had a scrape, and I was showing him the footprints and how they pee in it and all that kind of stuff. And he was paying attention. And we get there. He's just a little tired. He's like, "Dad, can I just sleep a little bit longer? I'll walk out there." I said, "That's fine. You can follow my footprints in the snow." And he's like, "Well, when I get to the scrape, I'll know where to go." And it was like that for some reason just kind of hit me like, this is cool. He's paying attention. He wants to learn. And sure enough, about 8:30 or so, I heard crunch, 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 little footsteps coming through the wood, and he's getting his rest of his clothes put on, and here he comes, and that was pretty cool.
Nice.
So Hardwater Adrenaline asks, how many hooks do you ever run two? I don't, for the simple fact of, the whole resistance thing. Once we find a depth where those fish are at, we'll switch everything over. But if you're running two hooks, one, it takes, you're only allowed 3 lines in Wisconsin. I'd much rather have 2 tip-ups placed apart from each other than having one tip-up with 2 hooks on it. That's you got to remember the laws. 2 hooks is going to count for 2 lines. It's not 2 lines; it's 2 hooks. So you're doing yourself a disfavor by doing that. Let's see. What else are we missing, guys? I figured we covered a lot, but I feel like we're missing something.
Ice.
Dripping down.
Ice. Let's talk about hole size. This is a pretty big debated topic that I run into at the shows all the time. All these guys want 10-inch holes for tip-up fishing. Don't do it. Don't suck along for that. Now, granted, if you're going up to Lake of the Woods or you're going to go up and chase these monster pike, maybe you got something there. But I've been all over any place there's been ice, Canada, all of North America, I mean, everywhere. And what I have found is that when you go to a 10-inch hole, even the really big fish, when they get up in the hole, they've got room to turn around, or they've got room to swim backwards, and you're going to lose more fish out of a 10-inch hole than you would with an 8-inch. Now, when I say that, if we're going up and fishing Lakers like we did up with Gussie up in northern Ontario, or fishing big pike up in Lake of the Woods or the Northwest Angle, what we're doing is we're still using 8-inch holes, but we will drill 2 side by side, like a figure 8, make 2 holes next to each other. And by doing that, you don't give that full circumference of those fish to be able to come up, and they don't have that room to go back and forth. And 8-inch holes are where it's at. If you're fishing out of a wheelhouse, I understand the reasoning behind using a 10-inch hole. Holes freeze from the outside in, and you don't have to worry about your holes closing up. If you're spending all night out there, your holes are going to close up a little bit. So you start with 10, and by the morning you might have an 8. But even at that point, guys, all these new drills, it's so easy to re-drill holes. Start with an 8-inch hole, and as if if it starts to close up, just run your auger back down through it. But I see so many people losing big fish in those 10-inch holes, and not only that, they're death traps. I can't tell you how many times, especially like late season or on warm days where snow's kind of falling back in, or after a snowstorm, whether it be a kid or even grown guys, they're walking along and they step into a 10-inch hole. I mean, you're going to break a leg or an ankle or get wet. There's no reason for it, I guess, is really what I'm getting at.
Yeah, we use an 8 all the time. So.
Yep. Lose a kid. Yeah, that's exactly it. Let's see. What's your thought on the Finicki foolers? How about you guys?
I haven't personally used them. I mean, we do get a lot of people, and like I said, everybody's got their own thing, what they like to do, and I completely understand the concept. If I remember right, the Finicki fooler trips a flag and allows you to fight them on the rod yet, right? So,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, I get it. I get that concept, and that makes complete sense to me for, the guys that want to do that. I do always go back, though, to the guys that are so adamant about always saying, I want to fight him on a rod. I want to fight him on a rod. It's boring. It's no challenge hand lining them. Going right back to what we talked about in the beginning of the podcast. Put on some light line and fight them. And when you're pulling up a 28-inch walleye on 4-pound fluorocarbon with a number 20 hook, if your heart's not thumping, I mean, that's excitement. So, but yeah, every tip-up has its own thing and its own place, right?
Yep. And it goes back to, again, with Finicki foolers, what happens when it's blowing 30 miles an hour and it's 15 below zero?
Right.
You're limited. You're not, I mean, the boxes, I don't care what the temperature is. If it's, I've been out there 30, 40 below zero wind chills and ran the boxes and have caught fish with no questions. I mean, is it hurt? Is it cold? Absolutely it is.
Yeah.
But it's, that's what separates, I think, your boxes from a lot of the other tip-ups, is the fact that there's no limitations on, when or where you can use them.
And we also do have, I don't know if we even mentioned it through this whole thing, but, for the people that want to run that same patented bite sensitivity in the shack, or, run and gun in the spring and fall, we have what's called our panfish version. And you can get 8 or 10 of those in a bucket. Of course, it's non-heated. Impossible to make it heated while putting the box around it. But if you want to run and gun for crappies and stuff, they've got that bite sensitivity. So a lot of guys will use them. They'll drill a hole, walk 50 yards, drill another hole, drop one with a little minnow, and then walk 50 yards, drill another hole. That way, instead of just jigging in one hole and keep moving, now you're fishing same thing as every other tip-up. You're locating, you're trying different things, you're fishing different depths. You're basically doing it 3 holes at a time. So we do have that as well, especially if you want to just get a little feel for how that sensitivity works and get a teaser. But we always tell people, even at the show, if you're going to spend X amount on that, if you're like every other one of our customers, once you realize how good that bite sensitivity works, you're going to want to fish with it all year. So you might as well just step up to the box and get a kid's sled, put all 3 of them in there, clip it to the back of your existing sled, and just pull it out behind. You won't even know it's there. Surprisingly, our new models, everybody that picks them up at the show, our box is like, that is way lighter than I thought. The new roto molded models.
Yeah, it's not, the wood ones were a little bit heavier.
Right.
And there's some days I maybe miss them when it's like super cold out, because they would hold the heat maybe a little more. But with the roto molded, I guess the cons versus the pros, I think the pros outweigh the cons. So I'm happy with them. And we've been, you guys have seen, I've experimented too with different lids and see-through lids and stuff like that. And once a guy gets one, it's nothing saying that you can't modify or do some stuff for what you want to do. I've got all mine set up with the vulture systems. I've seen guys, completely wrap them in, reflective tape and stuff like that. That's a really great idea. I actually started putting reflective tape on all 4 sides of mine, just because you got a bunch of boneheads running around at night, on snowmobiles and running stuff over. And last thing you want them to do is, have some snowmobiler take out a $150 tip up.
Right.
So, there's different things that you can do to kind of customize it for yourself. Well, anybody have any questions with the boys here? We got a couple people ask if we're heading out tomorrow. Jared and I are going to go check some more bays. I'm hoping that maybe this 19 degrees tonight, it's sad to say, might give us another half an inch. We're going to try and see if we can't go get wet, or at least, get a couple holes drilled and see if we can't catch a couple of fish. But it's bad, man. A lot of people are looking for ice, and there's just not a whole heck of a lot around right now. We started off so good, and then we start getting this weather again. I don't know if it's just seasons changing or what's happening, but last couple of years, we get those cold October, Novembers, and then December comes around and you get an Indian summer, and then January comes and it's 40 below for a month. I have a feeling that's what's going to happen.
We were
going to sell ice at the ice show. We were going to sell it in a cooler. We were so frustrated.
We're going to break out the bite meat.
A guy you have a sled made for the boxes. My problem is holes freezing over and my reels are in the water. So there's a bunch of different sleds out there. Pelican has a pull behind sled, just kind of like a kid's sled, or like they use it for multi-purpose, like sled or trapping and whatnot. I think it's like a 60, or I don't know what the model number was. But you can find those at Walmart. I'm trying to think of where I've seen those.
Target, I think, had them.
Who did?
Maybe Target, I think, had those for a while. You talking about the ones that we usually use, Troy? Those long, low-sided black ones? Or
no, this is that one that I picked up. It's that Pelican. Okay. It's a super high side, so they tend to not rock out the side. So even if guys want to put 6 of them in, when you've got 3 and then 3 on top, there's still a nice high side. It's more of like used for like trapping and hauling firewood and stuff like that. But it was made by Pelican, and I really wish I would have bought them. The Walmart had them clearance for like $20. I think they're normally like $50 or $60, and I should have bought every one of them, and I only bought one.
Been running the smaller jet sleds, and then we use for our bait buckets. We just got the square coolers, and they fit right alongside the boxes in there, so you can store, multiple things right alongside 3 boxes. You can actually get 4 boxes in there if you got the front one on the nose, and they work great. They don't fill up the bed of the truck. You can get them side by side in a standard truck. They don't take up a whole 5-foot box, so it really works pretty good.
And they're on sale at Fleet Farm right now, because I just bought 2 yesterday. Yeah.
And then, for me, when we're running, a dozen, 15 boxes, I just got my big sled from one of my shacks, and I can put a dozen boxes in there pretty easily. And, that's what I typically haul things, out on the ice with, is I just got one big sled that houses them all, and put a couple bungees over the top. So when we're, hauling 60 miles an hour across the ice, we're not losing a whole lot of them. So,
and we know you put them to the test.
Nobody better than Troy for research and development, man. You want to test a product? Give it to that boy.
I think I've got parts laying in my shop yet that we use for, okay, we got to build this a little better or this a little better. Always correct this.
That's good. Nothing wrong with that.
You got to live up to your reputation of destroy, right?
Yes, sir.
I always tell that is just take my name and put the DES in front of the name, and you got destroy. Fits my name just perfectly.
A customer
so where are you guys off?
Not warranted.
What's that?
That if a customer wrecks something that you didn't, it's definitely not warranted.
I'll contest to that. Where are you guys off to next?
Well, it looks like you said, with the ice around here, I mean, we're just, you almost got to go north. I know in northern Wisconsin, a lot of them lakes up there, they got, 3 inches, 4 inches. And it's funny, we post stuff up there that we're up fishing on these lakes, and people are like, boy, you're brave. What are you, nuts? Are you crazy? Troy, over the past few years, and not that it gives you just have so much more of a sense of security now with these floating suits these days, no matter what, brand you necessarily wear. But I mean, if you do things right and you go out with a buddy, just talking a little ice safety, go out with a buddy, you have those ice cleats on and you have a floating suit on, especially if you're not in a vehicle, an enclosed UTV or whatever, the odds of you going through and something happening, I mean, you have more odds of getting in trouble driving there to the lake than you do walking out on 3 inches of ice with a floating ice suit, ice picks, and a buddy with a rope, and you know what I mean? So yeah, but we're just gonna keep having to do what we got to do, run north, and hopefully we don't get a bunch of snow on that ice, and we just love trying new lakes, and it's one of the things when you have the right setup that's just fun to do. We get an adrenaline rush out of going up, dissecting a new body of water, getting out there with our tip-ups, lining them up on the breaks, going back in bays, fish where nobody is. We don't like to go where the crowds is. And yeah, you're going to, no different than you. You're going to have bad days. Oh, that didn't work. We didn't get nothing. But boy, when you land on something like that and find it in a new lake, it's pretty rewarding, right?
Yeah. There's nothing better than finding your own fish.
Yes.
It's just a matter of how long you can keep it to yourselves.
Right.
People watch videos all the time. They're like, man, you're killing them fish all the time. If we showed you all the footage of the days when we're not catching them and all the spots where we didn't catch them, trying to find those fish, you'd be awfully bored watching our video. It takes time, and you got to do your homework, and you pick the right lakes, and it don't always work out. It just doesn't, So we fish a lot of lakes where it never works out, but we usually, if it can work out, we like to hope we can find that way of making it work. So,
well, very good. Well, I appreciate you guys. Hopefully we'll get some ice around here, and if not, maybe we'll have to all plan a trip up north together and go drill some holes, because not having ice here. I was just talking to one of my other buddies. They're still fishing in the boats, and I have a feeling that if it's going to stay in the 40s and upper 40s the next couple of weeks, I think we are going to be chasing fish in the boat. Unless we need
a summer fishing product, Troy, because this is killing us. But we definitely appreciate you having us on, for sure. It was great talking tip-up talk, and hopefully some people learned a little bit about it. And like I said, just everybody remember, tip-up fishing isn't just going and throwing them out. There's so much more to it than that, right?
Yep. So Logan asks, is there any retailers around the Fox Valley where we don't have to pay for shipping? Logan, if you use that code, that's pretty much going to take care of your shipping for you.
And then some.
So
and
then some too. So just use that code, go online, use that code, that Bluegill 20, and you'll save not only the shipping, but a little bit extra as well. And then you don't have to worry about driving around anywhere, and they'll send them right to your house. And you guys got some in stock right now?
Yes, sir.
We're sitting pretty good right now. I wouldn't wait too long. If we get some cold weather, they can disappear quick. I mean, we saw it at the show. We went through way more, so they can disappear fast. We usually are limited on stock, like everybody else. We're going to order X amount, and we always try to order more than we sold the year before to make sure we're covered. But if you're going to get them, it's best is to not wait, because I think it was not last year, the year before, we sold out, and there was a lot of unhappy people. So,
yep. I do want to talk about one new product here, as long as we still got it. I'm just finishing up editing the video. I was with the boys at Vulture at the show in Oshkosh, and they came out with something really cool. One of the problems, it's not a problem, but I guess kind of like the boxes, right? The TipUp sensors, the Vulture sensors are a little bit big, and they do work with every TipUp that's out there. The nice thing about these is, you've got the two-way communication, so I can, turn the lights on, I can turn them off, You know, if we're out fishing Poigan, Winnebago, or a little lake up north, and all of a sudden I see a bunch of snowmobiles coming, boom, I can turn all my lights on these TipUps all the way around me so they can see and not have to worry about running into them. Or obviously we got the reflective tape. So there are some benefits to these bigger, you know, transmitters here. But they came out with a new one this year. It's I believe it's called the Rev. It's a little like the size of a lighter that will mount on the side of your TipUp, and on a style like this that has the spinner like a normal beaver dam. I haven't quite figured out yet how I'm going to mount them on the bite me's. I just don't think they're going to work for the bite me's. But what it does is not only will it tell you that the TipUp went off, but it'll also tell you that it's spinning. And the faster it spins, the faster your little handheld is going to beat. So you know, all right, I got a TipUp, and is it spinning or not? You know, when it's spinning, right, when you're pike fishing, you want to try and get there right away and you know, and set the hook. This way here, you can tell exactly how fast it's spinning, and I need to get to that TipUp light right now, or I'll just let it wait a little bit, and then as you start walking over to it, it'll start spinning. So something new that they got. Like I said, I'm going to have the video up online a little bit later here tonight yet, but that's a really, really cool product that they came out with, and just it's so much fun to fish with all the little, you know, the gizmos and gadgets. I just got to figure out a way how to make that work, because it'd be awesome to see exactly how fast that spool is fitting inside those boxes. I know there's a couple videos I think we have of up in Minocqua. We had a TipUp go off one time, and there's no snow on the ice. And then we're fishing back in Stacks Bay, and there's muskies all over up there. And the flag went off, and all of a sudden you just heard the chatter, the brrrr, and you looked over, and the box is literally shaking. It's jumping up and down, and we get over there, we flip it open, and I don't know if a drill could have spooled it any faster than what that muskie was taking that line out. But it would have been neat to see, you know, just on the sensor. But yeah, I mean, something cool that they came out with. Those guys are always coming out with, you know, really cool stuff. And the nice thing is it's all 100% U.S. made. They make everything, all the injection molding and all that stuff is done in Chicago. They're doing all the boards and everything right here in Chicago and Wisconsin. And local boys that have a passion for fishing and are very, very good with electronics. So check those guys out. They're good guys over there.
Gadgets have been coming out in the past even 10 years.
Yeah, yep. It's you know, all electronics, live scopes, and you know, TipUp alarms and all kinds of stuff. You know, really where those vultures come in handy for the guys that have cabins on the lakes, man. You can put your TipUps all across the entire lake, hang this thing in your patio door in your window, and you don't have to go out and worry about them. You know, go check your minnows every hour or so and sit back and watch TV and play cards and drink beer. And when the remote goes off, you go catch a fish.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got a couple questions. What's the name of that lighted bait you talked about at the show? So those are the guys at Fish Daddy. That is the Dirty Bomb. If you go to fishdaddy.com, I believe it is, Andy there, he's got the Dirty Bomb, and he's got a bunch of other ones as well. But that Dirty Bomb has been the one that we've been playing around with and doing very well, especially for the lake trout and going up to Lake of the Woods or any dirty water where you know, you're typically using a glow bait. Those lighted baits that he has are pretty awesome. Well, I will let you guys go. It's probably past your bedtime. I see you. You know, the one thing I got on you guys, I don't have to wear glasses yet.
Yeah, give it time, buddy. Give it time.
Oh, trust me, it's getting there. I mean, I've been telling Steph the last like year or so, my close vision is going, and I can see it. I can't see it, but I know it's getting close. But
It's
At
going to
least I don't
happen
have to
ice
look.
fishing, Troy. That's when it happened to me. Trying to tie on a hook, and somebody said, I'm, throwing out all these choice words. Somebody handed me to readers. I put them on. I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm 21 again.
Yeah.
That's
You know what I had? We're reading like packages or, stuff, directions on different stuff, and I'm trying to read it and I can't. So I pull out my phone and blow it up on my phone and then read it off my
Yeah.
phone.
That's phase one.
Oh,
Pretty
yeah.
soon you'll
One of these days I'm gonna kneel down. I'm not gonna be able to get back up.
Yeah, like I said, your kids will pick you up. They owe you.
There you go. All right, gentlemen. I'll let you guys go. Appreciate it.
we
And
appreciate
hopefully we can get out on the ice here, soon.
I
Yeah,
agree.
for sure, Troy. Like I said,
right.
appreciate you having you, and hopefully we can get out on the ice soon. Take care and stay safe out there, man.
Yeah, you guys as well. Have a good Christmas.
All right.
All right.
Same to you.
Take care.
Talk to you guys later.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Rick and Terry, two great guys. Been friends with those guys for a long time. We've done some pretty fun trips together, from the Dakotas, Wisconsin, Mississippi. They love to fish and really enjoy spending time with them. And, we've taught each other a lot of cool things. And the nice thing about the fishing industry is just the people that you meet and the adventures you go on. It's kind of unlike anything that you can experience. So appreciate you guys, and thanks for helping out and coming over tonight and chatting. Well, excuse me. Like I said earlier, as far as reports, the ice is there isn't much, guys. We're gonna drive around tomorrow and just keep checking around. Make sure if you are gonna go out, bring a spud bar, bring a buddy, have a rope, something to help. Make sure you got your picks around your neck so you can claw your way out. Keep your float suit on, and just be smart. I mean, that's really it. There's no sense. Somebody's life ain't worth a fish. That is for certain. Winter will be here soon enough. I know a lot of everybody's got the itch, me included, but we're safe. I will not risk it like I used to. Years ago, it would have been no problem to go out and take some plywood or some skis and put on some Marsh skis and skate out onto the ice on an inch of ice and just to catch a fish. And ain't worth it anymore, guys. I like to see all you come back and tell stories of good days and not have to worry about getting wet and talking about the bad days. Let's see. Other than that, I really don't have anything. Watch for that video. We're going to show you the new system that Vulture has. And there again, you can, I believe I've got a code there you can use to save a little bit if you're looking at ordering some Vulture systems. They've got plenty of stock. I was with them at the show. That system, I believe, is going to go live here later this week on their website. I don't think it was even live on the website yet. They released it at the show. I do have some video showing it. So again, check back here. It'll be, give me another hour or so, or it'll definitely be available for you tomorrow morning to watch, but that'll be there explaining everything there. That's all I got for you guys tonight. Next week, I don't know what we'll cover yet. Maybe we'll have some ice and we can talk a little bit about ice, but we're getting into Christmas week too. So it will be, let's see, how long is that code good for? I'll check with Rick and Terry and see, I'll send them a text message here once and see what he's got to say. And give me 1 second. I'll get an answer from him here in just a second, and then I'll chime in. But appreciate that. I know $20 is not a lot to a lot of guys, but it's a whole bunch to a lot of others. So you can save on shipping, save on tax, all that kind of good stuff too. It's just their appreciation. They don't have to do that, and appreciate that they did, and appreciate their time for coming in. They will. There you go. 1 week. That code's good for 1 week from today. So there you go. Get your Christmas shopping done. Buy some boxes. If the boxes aren't in your deal here, I know a lot of our retailers. The Artec claw from Firehouse is another great option. If you're looking for TipUps for the kids, or anybody really, those are my two choices. You're either going to have the Artec claws from Firehouse, or you're going to have the Bite Me boxes. Two totally different spectrums of fishing too. Really, it's not really a competition between the two. This has its purpose, and the boxes have its purpose. And most of the guys that I know that tip up fish are typically going for pike, and that's where these things shine. These are by far my favorite to use for pike. I can throw a bunch of them in a bucket. They're very easy to set up, to collapse, take down, throw them in a bucket. Don't have to worry about everything getting tangled. Usually got at least 1 or 2 of these guys in the back of my snowmobile, if we need to. Carry a couple extra hot dogs along, and you can drop these things down for some hot dogs, and you don't have to worry about carrying live bait around, and you can do a little bit of pike fishing while you're out searching for some panfish. So good guys, American made, and nothing better than supporting the guys from the good old US of A. So if I don't see any of you guys next week, you all have a good Christmas, and we'll catch you the week after. Hopefully by first of the year, we'll have plenty of walkable ice at least. But I don't think we're going to be able to drive much for any machines or anything out there yet. Hey, where can a guy get a float suit for guys that wear extra tent? Bob, here's the thing, is Eskimo has a float suit that goes to a 5X. And there hasn't been many guys that I've had looking for them that can't fit in that. It'll be more than adequate for you, depending on where you're at. Critters in Winneconne, we just ordered a 5X for a guy today. He can get you that. Otherwise, trying to think, more up there. You could check with, let's see. I know Kurt's Island Sports up in Minocqua may have one. You could go online. Marine General probably has them online. Order from Russ up at Marine General up by Duluth there. Yeah, check out the 5X. Either I'd recommend the Legend suit, Bob. That's it's such a nice suit. The Keeper and the Roughneck are great suits as well. But if I know you, definitely check out the Legend suit. And we've got that 5X coming in too. So if you really wanted to try it on before we got you one as well, I know that that'll be here in just a matter of a couple of days. So go ahead and check that out. And I know Critter will appreciate it as well. That's it, boys and girls. Have a good evening. I'm going to get a few things ready for tomorrow, and we're going to hit the ice, or hopefully hit the ice early, and hopefully catch some perch and some bluegills and see what else we can find and come back hopefully dry. So cheers, and we'll catch you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in, and have a good weekend, everybody. If you get out, stay safe. Go ahead, feel free, share some pictures and stuff on the Facebook, and should be good to go. But we'll catch you guys later. Have a good night.